Hello, everybody. Set this up right. There we go. All right. Let's try to get through today without having every single one of my USB connections crash at the same exact time for no apparent reason, and then come back on three minutes later for no apparent reason. Fingers crossed we get through it today. All right. We got quite a bit to talk about. Just letting everybody get in here as we get started up. Oh, I got to. No, I'm not muted. Good try there, though. Good try there. I'm going to retweet my stuff, and we will get into it. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, everybody is doing good. It is a beautiful Wednesday today. Oh yeah, for you people who don't know, sorry. OKS is that's so the Germans during World War II had their different command centers. They had OKW, which was Over Command West, and then South, North, and East. So OKS just is the operational command of the southern grouping of the Ukrainian armed forces. If you guys remember, about 2 weeks ago in Chernigov, there was a Russian ballistic missile strike. It was the one we had on video where all the ladies were at the bus station a couple blocks away. They had claimed that the hospital got hit, but the hospital didn't get the hit. The hotel got hit. That was okay. That would be OKN, right? So in terms of it just means operational command. So the operational command center of the northern grouping of Ukrainian troops was hit 2 weeks ago in Chernigov. According to the Russian MOD, last night, the Ukrainian operational command in the south was hit. And I can just show you guys that picture since we're talking about it already. Before we go over to the map, we can just talk about some of this stuff. Here we have the picture of the results of the strike. Ukrainians were very quiet about it. Remember with the recent cluster munitions strike on that dock area and whatever happened with the Harry Potter castle, whatever you guys want to believe, whether you believe it was a Russian missile strike or whatever, and those casualties, they were instant to jump on the propaganda value of it, really push this whole, Russian targeting civilians. But then with this strike, not a word. We had reports from Ukrainian sources that the Russians were operating drones over Odessa at the time, reconnaissance drones, probably an Orlan 10 recon drone. And then 2 ballistic missiles were launched. 2 explosions occurred in Odessa moments later. And this is the picture we got about 12 hours later. So we don't know what was hit. We don't know who was in there at the time. We don't know anything. But it is not looking good for anybody who may have been in that building or any operations that were taking place in that building. All right, go over to the map. We got some stuff to talk about on the map. Actually, I'll just do my intro real fast. Guys, welcome in. This is Kalibrated live number 53, I believe. Yeah, 53. We're going to be talking about a lot today, as you can tell by the title, ATACMS Failing. We are going to talk about the recent ATACMS strikes, what results they yielded, so on and so forth, and talk about some potential issues that the ATACMS could be facing. We're also going to go over some map updates, talk about some of the events that are upcoming, some of the events that are currently happening. One is in Moscow right now, and just talking about the way that the conflict could transform over the next week and a half or so. If you guys want to support my work, the easiest way you can do that is just by liking this video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you are on YouTube, you can go into the description. You can find my Twitter, my Telegram, and my Patreon there. Easiest ways to support me is just by following, retweeting my stuff, liking my stuff, and showing me that you guys care. If you would like to financially support me, you can do so through Super Thanks, Super Chat, or Super Stickers. If you ask questions, I will answer them on my live stream. And if you want to further support me, you can go to my Patreon and sign up there. Guys, I don't know what to do with my Patreon account right now, but I want to give you rewards if you guys sign up and become members. So please, if you have ideas, let me know. Let me know what kind of content you would like to see. I have time to make some more content. I just need to know what you guys want on the Patreon. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Map. Everybody knows Ukraine. We have some updates in the south today to talk about. So in Robitny, in the Robitny Salient, Robotny, whatever, however you want to say it, the Russians advanced to the east. I had marked this in purple. I ended up geoconfirming it, and enough of my sources confirmed that this move did happen that I did map it. The entire town is not controlled by the Russians, according to multiple sources. None of it is controlled by the Ukrainians. This is gray zone up here, but the Russians are not currently in the northern area of the town just because there's literally nothing here. They're going to have to reach the entrenchments in this tree line and in this tree line to begin pushing further north. We should expect this bottom area of this salient to collapse rather quickly now, though. The Russians are also making progress over on this end, just basically closing up this salient little by little. Again, this is not a dedicated Russian offensive. Let me make this bigger. This is not a dedicated Russian offensive, so the Russians aren't particularly pushing hard here. The Ukrainians are just getting weaker in this area, weaker and weaker and weaker. Russian glide bombs do their work. And then Russian troops can just advance into this position. There is not a concerted offensive over here like we see in, or like around maybe perhaps Chasiv Yar or Avdiivka. Okay. Moving over to Ocheretyne and Starmayosk. The Russians have crossed the river here, the Morky Yali River, whatever. The names are just too much for me, guys. So they pushed out, captured this tree line right here, and are basically now on the outskirts of these two settlements. Remember, this was another one of the victories of the Ukrainian counteroffensive, was these two settlements. If this is reversed and pushed back up to Bladhodne up here, then all of the Ukrainian counteroffensive in this salient will basically have been reversed. Yeah. So Russians are slowly taking back their territory here in the south. And I think it's particularly just because of the amount of Russian aviation that operates on these places. They just keep hitting these locations. Like Ocheretyne in particular has been hit by so many glide bombs. All of these buildings are gone. And it just forces the Ukrainians to retreat because they just can't sit under that shelling with no entrenched cover protection. So the Russians just kind of move in after they've leveled a given area. Not a bad tactic when the Ukrainians want to hold on to every inch, and they'll keep throwing resources into that wood chipper. All right. Up here around Ocheretyne, we have consolidated the Russian gains in this area. We have an advance to the south here, south of Ocheretyne, towards Sokil. This greatly increases the buffer around the flanks of Ocheretyne and this northern flank here. This is also significant because now the Russians are first off, they're on the road, they're progressing up the road, and they're working into this next line of defense right here, and they're already practically behind it. So the Ukrainians are likely going to do the same thing they did here in Novobakhmutivka and Solovove, and that is to slowly back up and try to create another line of defense further back. And then as the Russians approach that one and overtake it, and then you can see how this is going, where these lines are just getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Avdiivka took like a year to get through, 6 months of concerted assaults. Outside of the capture of Krasnohorivka, after that, took about 6 months from October to February to get this line. And then this line was February to April. And then we've completely expanded out. Or the Russians have completely expanded out up in this direction and have captured Ocheretyne, captured this high ground. They're going to continue pushing out along this and pushing to the south here into Sokil and Vashkad. So this is just continuation. I mean, I think we can expect a chunk like this every now and again from the Russians on this front. The Ukrainians cannot stabilize. They're just having a very difficult time with manpower shortages, artillery shortages, and the Russians are just putting in effort in this sector to gain. We also have an unconfirmed advance right now. I haven't seen the geolocation for this. Confirmed by two sources that the Russians have entered Arkhangelsk, and they have also captured this gray zone down here. They came in from this side and this side, and the Ukrainians were forced to retreat out of this low-lying territory right here. So you can see this flank around Ocheretyne now is much stronger for the Russians. Okay. Oh, Tyler, what's up? It's early. I didn't expect you to be in here today. One option for the Patreon could be to do a stream with more analysis, showing some of the geolocated videos that wouldn't be okay to show. Oh, that's what I will do. Oh, that's such a good idea, Tyler. Okay, that gave me a great idea. I'm going to do my inappropriate streams on Patreon. So if you guys want to see all of the videos that would get demonetized on YouTube, on my Telegram, on my Twitter, that's what I'll do. Thank you, Tyler. One of my greatest fans right there. Appreciate you, brother. That's awesome. That's awesome. Sweet. Cool. Okay, back to the map. My dogs are sleeping. I just scared them. I think I talked about this last time. Yeah, the Russians have crossed the canal here. Again, significant because it can compromise the flank and the supply into this area. I think I talked about that. I just did not update this part of the map. And then up to the north, no changes up here yet still. So that's it for the map updates. But this is continued to be a problem. A lot of people said that the Russians had failed to exploit this collapse of the Ukrainians, which is, I mean, that's just a complete crock because, I mean, obviously you can see just by the defense line that reaching Ocheretyne and getting through this defense area right here on this high ground, the Russians weren't supposed to breach this high ground like they did. And once they did that, you could see that this line collapsed. And then I should make another line. Oh, look, part of the thing has already come true. I should make another line back here to show where this next line of defense should be and how the Russians already passed it. But for another day. All right. Okay. I have one article that I wanted to show you guys. This is just a claim by Newsweek. Surprise F-16 update issued by Ukraine. And I'm very curious to see if this pans out because this is kind of a big claim. Ukraine will start operating F-16s after Orthodox Easter on May 5th, Kiev has said, as the country contends with devastating Russian bombardment and the long wait for the Western-made fighter jets. We are waiting, Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Ilya Yavlash said, adding the jets will be taking to the skies over the war-torn country after Easter. Does that mean May 6th, or does that mean June 24th, or does that mean August 8th? What does after Easter mean exactly? Technically, everything is after Easter. But I am curious to see if this happens. I'm curious to see what airfields these planes decide to take off from. If these planes are delivered to a given airfield, it will be very clear that this happened. Sorry about the ad. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to do that. It'll be very clear that the F-16s have moved into Ukraine and what airfield they're at by the amount of traffic at the airfield, the amount of attention the airfield is getting. You'll just be able to tell. They also definitely have resources in the Ukrainian military. They probably have resources in the U.S. intelligence apparatus. that would feed them some form of information about where these F-16s are going to be flying out of. They obviously have connections in the Ukrainian government, so they're going to know absolutely. Those airfields are just going to get cratered, because if those airfields are cratered, they can't operate the F-16s off of them. So every single airfield that you see get cratered, the second this, as soon as these planes show up, is going to be a clear indication of where these planes are at. And eventually it'll get to the point where there just won't be any airfields to house these aircraft at, which potentially opens up to the possibility that opens the possibility up that these F-16s may be taking off from airfields outside of Ukraine, which is obviously a red line, but I don't even like look at red lines anymore. I just figure they're going to get crossed eventually, because that's where we're at. So it will be interesting to see where these F-16s end up. But I don't think that they're going to have any sort of impact. And I think it's going to be one of the last big disappointments for the Ukrainians to realize that this long-awaited F-16 program is just not going to pay off the way they wanted it to. Okay. I have some stuff that I wanted to show you guys on Twitter real fast. Bookmarks. Okay. Here we go. So part of my presentation today for you guys was obviously the ATACMS Failing. That's what I'm going to talk about now. I'm going to present just some like evidence. I mean, it's circumstantial evidence, but so this was on April 29th. This is what I would consider the second failed ATACMS attack. So if you guys remember, the first long-range ATACMS attack we saw was on the airfield in Crimea. During that attack, at least one or two ATACMS made it through. They hit a air defense battery. I believe it was an S-300 based off of the cage that was on the carcass, the burned carcass of the aircraft system. S-400s have one bar, basically, like it looks like a roll cage kind of. One bar on the back. S-300s have two. If you look at the picture, the one launcher you can clearly make out has two. So I think it was an S-300. But the Ukrainians claimed it was an S-400, which is fine, whatever. If it was an S-400, it was an S-400. I'm not here to argue that. What I'm going to argue is the fact that that attack used 12 ATACMS, and they got a battery out of it. The next two ATACMS strikes, this one was admitted by Ukraine battle maps. There is reported Ukrainian ATACMS strike taking place on the same airfield and Semefopol. Nothing came out of this. There were explosions. Yes, air defense worked. The Russians have now claimed twice through two different air raids that were both openly stated by Ukrainian sources to have happened. Two ATACMS strikes have failed. This has significance because Ukraine was not given a large number of ATACMS. So every single launch is important. And we saw a fourth launch today, and I would like to cover it as best I can, if I can. Hold on, I'm going to actually just remove this real fast so I can look for this. Come down here. Okay, I can't show the video, but I can show you guys. I can tell you everything that happened here. Okay, so I'm going to pause this video because I can't have that playing or I will get in trouble. Okay, let's see. Everything is good. Okay. All right, so here we can see, and you guys can go look at this video on my Twitter. Pause that. So here we can see the ATACMS strike on the Luhansk, on a Luhansk training ground filled with Russians. You can see there is a good number of Russians in this photo. The Ukrainians claimed it was a mass casualty event, which is perfectly an acceptable claim. However, when you watch the full video, which is right here, you guys can come watch it. You can see what I'm talking about here, where the first ATACM comes in, the first of four, and it was a dud. Right, you can watch it come in at 5. It doesn't open up and disperse. Right, just hits the ground. A little bit of black soil gets kicked up, but it's not a big explosion, nothing like that. So they basically got the Russians in this area basically got an Israeli roof tap. Right, they're all standing around. They hear, and then the thing hits the ground. And what are you going to do? Right, you're going to scatter. It was a dud. You can go watch the video. It was clearly a dud. It is a cluster munition ATACMS, and it does not go off. It lands on the ground, and there is no ATACMS or sub munitions that go out. The next strike, and I have the timings right here. You can go look. The next strike disperses at 18 seconds, but it is not on target for where these guys are. Okay. And then the third ATACMS doesn't even land in this area where the soldiers were and the vehicles were. The next ATACMS lands over here in this field. I believe it was targeting this little white building right here. And you guys can watch this video. Again, I can't do this. If I was on my Patreon, I'd be able to do it. But they tried to strike this building. They were off by maybe 100 meters. I mean, the total shrapnel CET of the or CEP of the missile was about 100 meters away from the building. So they hit an open field with nothing in it. And then the fourth one did hit this area and did hit the vehicles, but that was almost a full minute after that first dud had come in and hit the ground. So I'm not saying there weren't casualties. It is cluster munitions. It is great against infantry. I'm not saying that there weren't casualties. What I'm saying is if that first ATACMS munition would have opened up and dispersed properly, the casualties would have been significantly higher. It's very clear that they're having extreme accuracy issues with all of their advanced weapon systems. The small diameter bombs have extreme issues. HIMARS have extreme accuracy issues. I believe it has to do with the amount of electronic warfare that the Russians are putting out in Ukraine. The GPS jamming, all of that sort of stuff is doing a real number on Western weapons. And I think it's a real issue that Western countries need to tackle now before they get into a situation where they're going up against somebody and they're firing 5 or 6 HIMARS missiles to take out one soft target that should require one, maybe, right? That's the big takeaway here. Also, another huge aspect of this ATACMS strike is the fact that they are targeting a training ground, which is, by all intents and purposes, a soft target, right? You're not going to have a bunch of air defense around a training ground 80 kilometers behind the front line, right? Right? That's ridiculous. So, I mean, it should be under a general AD coverage, but it's not a focused point for air defense like an airfield would be, or other much more critical facilities like ammunition storage, that sort of stuff. Honestly, this is going to sound cold. I'm not trying to minimize the casualties that Russians are taking and minimize the importance of an individual's life. But if you're the Russians right now and Ukraine has a limited supply of tactical ballistic missiles, aren't you happy that they are targeting a training ground and being less than overly successful with it, instead of targeting your airfields, targeting, like your ammunition storages, using it on civilians? I mean, this seems like what more could you ask for? The Ukraine has such a limited number of tactical ballistic missiles that they've been given, and they're using them on small concentrations of manpower. You could lose, let's say they do 10 of these and Russia loses 1,000 soldiers, but that's all the ATACMS that Ukraine has. Does that win them the war? Is that what those tactical ballistic missiles should be getting used on? Or should they be stopping the Su-34s that are dropping, dozens of glide bombs on Ukrainian positions every day and killing thousands of Ukrainians? So that's what you guys have to like think about this kind of stuff when you're doing any sort of analysis. It's an MLRS sniper round, not a huge regular ballistic missile. No, it's a. I mean, it's supposed to be a tactical ballistic missile, like the Iskander almost. It's the same sort of deal. It's a little smaller, but it's in the same category. How many ATACMS did they receive from the West? Well, I think the first batch was, oh, was it 50 and 50 that they got? Or was it 50 and 100, something like that? I imagine they probably got 1 to 200 ATACMS in this last batch that they were given. And they've probably already used 50. And we've seen one success, one or I guess you can call this success, 2 successful strikes. I mean, that's not overly fantastic. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate your analysis as always. Thank you, man. I appreciate you being here watching. Thank you guys so much for being in here watching. I love doing this, and I'm glad that you guys can maybe learn something from all of my rambling and bambling. Ukraine shouldn't waste their ATACMS on not so high value targets. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, an Su-34 is doing one Su-34 does more damage to Ukraine than those 4 ATACMS missiles just did to Russia, right? In one day, one Su-34 probably does. If let's just say one Su-34 is doing 4 sorties in a day, launching 2 Fab 500 bombs and taking out 8 Ukrainian positions. I mean, that's a huge. That has much more effect than this does. Question. Not to antagonize you, Scott, but how come you're invested in a Russian victory in the war? I'm not invested in a Russian victory. My position the entire time has been the U.S. is making mistakes all over the goddamn world, and it's my responsibility to at least educate people around me on how bad your government is fucking you over, how bad they are screwing up the amazing situation that they were handed. We were the hegemony in 1991, guys. We should be ruling the world. Come on. We are geographically isolated. We have unbelievable resources. We live in a breadbasket. We have subservient and friendly neighbors to the north and south. We have nobody to contest us on this entire hemisphere, let alone the world. And yet our foreign policy is so dog shit that we are actively isolating ourselves and ruining the multiple game advantage we had in the finals. We were up 3-0 in the NBA finals and we just sold. That's what's going on. So I'm not interested in a Russian victory. I'm trying to show everybody that Russia is winning and the US is losing, and we need to wake the fuck up. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And you're not antagonizing me with this question. This is a good question because I get it. I get this all the time. Oh, why are you a Russian propagandist? This, that, or the other. I'm not, guys. I'm just telling you the information that the other side doesn't want you to hear. I am a counter reporter. That's what I'm doing for you guys. If you want to hear the pro-Ukrainian garbage that it's never true, they always lie, go watch mainstream media. Have fun with that. Go listen to the MOD, the Ukrainian MOD. Go do that, right? That's if you want that, that's what you can go have. I'm over here. I talk shit about Russia all the time, guys. I'm showing a bunch of Russians getting hit by ATACMS missiles. And yeah, you could say this is cope or whatever, but I clearly lay out the facts. The first missile was a dud. If I'm in the military and I hear a missile come down 100 meters in that direction and slam into the ground and everybody freaks out, what are you going to do? Scatter and take cover and get down. And as soon as you do that, even if everybody just lied down in the field, that increases the chance of your survival greatly. If you get into cover behind a tree or something, it goes up even more. Yes, they probably had multiple injuries, multiple small shrapnel wounds. But, I mean, this is a logical argument that I put in front of you guys. I am not supporting Russia with this. I am showing a Russian defeat. Russian air defense failed to intercept these missiles like they should have. Russian air defense was not protecting Russian lives, right? This is a Russian failure, but it's also a failure of the weapon system that is claimed to be a Wunderwaffe. So I'm just presenting information, guys. If Russia wins and the US doesn't do something to prevent it, and I don't mean like negotiations. Like if they would have negotiated a while ago, they would have you could have won technically. I still think because the US is very strong, very stable. It's really hard for the US to get knocked off, right? But we are weakening ourselves with every single one of these foreign policy blunders. Afghanistan, Ukraine, what? And if we won in these places, I wouldn't be calling them blunders because at least we would have won. Afghanistan, we lost, we pulled out, we fucked the whole country. Ukraine, we're sending money, the whole country, all the men are going to die. They're literally pulling people back, pulling people in vans. The country's dead. We just killed a country in Europe for our own selfish reasons, our own military industrial complex, that stuff. Look at Israel. Israel is committing a genocide, and we're saying that the International Criminal Court, who we just accepted their warrant for Putin's arrest for a lesser genocide than we're seeing in Israel, we just said they don't have the authority to talk about what's going on in the Middle East. What the hell? It's the international rules-based order except nobody wants to follow it. Nobody follows it. The only reason the rules-based international order exists is so that the US can say you're not following this because they don't follow it and we don't follow it. It's just a joke, guys. We are living in a divine comedy and a tragic comedy. And that's why I do this. That's why I'm on here talking to you. I'm presenting you guys with the failures so you can make rational decisions. Don't be some pro-Putin, pro-Russian idiot either. Those exist as well. Don't be a pro-Ukrainian idiot. Be a centrist who has the ability to critically think and self-criticize. That's the problem with the pro-Ukrainian side. They never think anything they do is wrong. Ever. Literally ever. It's crazy. If somebody says something is wrong, they get cannibalized by their own side. A lot of the big pro-Ukrainian accounts don't even cover the conflict anymore because if they say anything truthful that would, the only ones that actually still are covering the war are the ones that are just openly lying like David. Like David just consistently lies all the time and nobody calls him on it in his little echo chamber of followers. And that's why he's not growing anymore. Okay. I got a little riled. You said it wasn't to rile me up, but I got a little riled. There's a lot of hate rising ever since the war on terror towards America. Crazy. It's crazy high now. Yeah. America's just losing. We were in the position where we could have, I'm telling you, and this is not even like this isn't even like a good prediction, like a good guy prediction. We could have ruled with an iron fist over the world. The United States could have. We just played it so wrong. We pretended too hard that we drank our own Kool-Aid is what happened. And we stopped progressing. We stopped making ourselves better and we're just stagnant. And we're hoping that by continuing this stagnation, we're somehow going to progress. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, guys. We are stuck. We are going to continue to be stuck as long as the current leadership is in place. That includes Trump. It's not Trump Biden. It's U.S. needs to get its teeth kicked in so that men step up and start making decisions that properly, and women. I'm just saying adults step up and start actually making decisions to keep us on top instead of fill their bank accounts. That's the difference. That's what needs to happen. But it's not going to happen until we are literally in a war and all of the cowards are scared off and they are replaced by stronger men. That's what's going to happen. And then you get this. Russia is on the right side of history. Guys, there is no right or wrong side of history. I hate to break it to you. It's just history. It's not Star Wars. There is no good or bad. There's greed on both sides. There's corruption on both sides. There's sociopaths on both sides that are making decisions. That it's not good or bad. It's not. It just is what it is. That's how you have to approach these things. It's comforting to think that Russia is the good side, and if you support Russia, that you're on the good side. But no, that's the same crap that the pro-Ukrainians talk about all the time. Like literally, they're living in a Star Wars universe where it's light versus dark, wrong versus right. No, this is gray versus gray. That's what this is. And the only thing that's happening are innocent people are dying because of all of the arguments over the gray zone. That's it. Because people think that the U.S. is right in upholding democracy and maintaining international borders, except when they don't do it, it's too big of a problem for an individual to solve or even comprehend, honestly, sometimes. And too many people have too many different opinions on it. So you just have to look at the reality. That's all you can do, is just look at the reality and be a cold, calculated realist. I'm an American and I'm invested in Russian victory. The U.S. is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the galaxy. Well, we don't know that for sure. Let's not go getting ahead of ourselves. There might be a really big state-sponsored terrorism out there in the Milky Way that we just don't know about. But yeah, I mean, this is what I mean. But the thing is this is what hegemonies do, right? You can't. I mean, you don't go around kicking in doors everywhere. So a lot of the soft power moves are through extremist groups and stuff like that. I mean, not soft. I don't mean soft power. I mean like non-direct intervention that the U.S. does through the CIA and stuff like that, the State Department. That's a lot. Yeah, I mean that's just a normal thing. But Russia does the same thing. I mean, Russia is overthrowing leaderships in, I mean, democratically elected leaderships in Africa, right? I mean, even if you think it's for the right reasons to expel U.S. presence in these countries, hopefully these countries gain their independence even from Russia afterwards. But usually, when you go into a country and coup it, you put in a government that's friendly to, say, BRICS, to Russia, to China, that sort of deal. So it's geopolitics, guys. It's just the way it goes. It's not good versus bad. It's just a power struggle. It's a constant power struggle. But yes, and they are turning the rifles on the American people. This is another thing: is the way they broke up those protests. Young American citizens protesting. I know that I did a whole rant on my Telegram this morning about how I think the protests are complete garbage. I don't think young white Americans give a rat's ass about Palestine. I think that it's the NPC thing now. We're doing this. Mr. Lord Soros has told us that we're going to start protesting this. I do think that there are legitimate people protesting, and I really do respect those people who are out there protesting for genuine reasons. But every protest gets hijacked by a bigger cause that is usually bankrolling it. So also, if you're pro-Hamas, you're stupid as a doorknob, especially if you're a young gay or LGBTQ person in a college in the United States. Hamas is not your friend. I'm sorry to say it. Hamas isn't really even the friend of the Palestinian people. So I don't know why you would wave a Hamas flag or anything like that. Support Palestine. Support the Palestinian people. They're the ones that need help. And then our government and our militarized police going in and literally abusing these people like it's Kent State or something. It's I mean, it's pathetic. It makes us look so weak and so manipulated by a foreign lobby. Man. But your Soros protest take is special ed. Dude, you can go and look at the people that are at these protests. It's the same people that were at the previous protests. They are organized events. College liberals, 20-year-old college liberals are not organized people. I don't know what you guys think is going on here, but unless you have an overarching hand that is doing something to affect the change and orchestrate it, these protests just dwindle out to nothing. No, this is bankrolled. These people are not all of them. There's always what I'm going to call useful idiots. Again, they're not idiots, but they're just people that are there that don't really know what's going on. They've just been kind of, peer pressured into going to this protest and stuff like that. There are good people protesting, and I'm not, and like the protests that are happening in Turkey, those are completely different. The protests that are happening in Turkey over the situation in the Middle East, those people know what's going on. Those people are more connected. Those are legitimate protests, and the country that they're protesting in isn't normally associated with these sort of fake protests. Guys, it's an election year. This happens every freaking election year. Well, didn't it happen last time? Didn't we get the last time we got serious riots was Black Lives Matter, right? Were those organic protests? No, you had Republicans and Democrats going at it again. It's theater, guys. They're just putting on a show for you to keep you distracted while they bend you over a table, in the ass, and don't buy you dinner. That's what's going on. I don't know how that's such a complex thing to grasp. They want to use you, abuse you, and then never commit to you. And I'm down with that dog life, you know? Oh, man. Got some questions here. I like ranting. Ranting's fun. So when Ukraine eventually surrenders and the collapse begins, how will the collapse affect the West? Will leaders resign, etc.? No. Will leaders resign? Come on, bruh. No, we lost a real war that we were actually fighting and nobody resigned over it. No, this war just got enough money to be pushed out over a year, so it will fail during the next administration, and the next administration will just blame the previous administration, and the previous administration and the next Democratic administration will just blame the Republicans for delaying aid, for this, that, and the other. Even though all the Democrats had to do to get the aid passed was agree on border stuff, and then it's just a mess. The Republicans folded; they look weak. But nobody really cares because we got protests on college campuses and American freedom and Israel, and it's distractions, guys. You're just getting distracted. They're doing like one of these. They're like over here, and then they just like steal your fucking wallet. That's what they're doing. As recently, new aid packages was approved by both the House. Republicans again started supporting Ukraine. Also, Trump. How will that impact the battlefield? No. So I think this is kind of a misconception. The Republicans just rolled over on this. That's what happened. This was not the Republicans starting to support Ukraine. There are Republicans that support boosting the military-industrial complex, especially going into an election year. That plays very well with voters. There were still 100 Republicans that didn't want the aid to pass. They voted against it. But Trump didn't specifically say anything. And there's a very good reason for this. And I just talked about it. Trump does not want to get blamed for what is about to happen in Ukraine when it collapses. The Democrats don't want to get blamed. The U.S. doesn't want to get blamed, right? This is to save face. And if you look at the bill, even the support, it looks like a lot of support, but really $40 billion just goes right back into our military industrial complex. It was a stimulus package for the United States under the guise of aid to Ukraine. Ukraine receives $9 billion in financial support, $13 billion in military funding support. $6 billion of that is going to be delivered in like a year or two, maybe. None of the equipment has been produced. That was that $6 billion aid package they just announced. $1 billion is said to have arrived already, but that also included ATACMS, which had arrived a month ago. I think that a lot of the equipment from this bill that they just talked about, like the Bradleys and stuff, I think a lot of it, guys, has already been delivered. And this was just sort of paying off a lot of debts that had already been built up. So I would not expect a large influx of equipment or anything like that anytime soon for the Ukrainian armed forces. Oh, all right. Get some more questions in, and then I'll wrap it up here. Favorite porn star? See, I don't know. When I don't watch a lot of porn nowadays, but back in the day, I was never a competitive porn watcher. I just kind of opened up a random website or whatever and would look for something that I liked. I never knew any names. Uh, and I always thought that like the known porn stars were always doing really like cheesy porn, and I have a really hard time watching that because I just want to make fun of it the whole time, like really horrible acting and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously. Who yeah, this is a good one. Who cares about porn? Yeah, exactly. Nobody. And then after you watch it, it's like ugh. Ugh. So I don't watch it much anymore. Just a little bit. All right, get some questions in, guys. Get some questions in. Question. To be fair, ATACMS have no real effect since there are so few of them. So the propaganda value of a large body count matters. Doesn't this make the attack worth it somehow? No, not really. No, I think that they need to get something done with these missiles. They could do some damage and that would look significant. This is nothing. This doesn't even play well because this isn't going to play on mainstream media. It needs to be a big fire. It needs to be an oil depot or something of that nature. This is never going to be seen by any average person who would be ingesting that propaganda for that reason. Hold on. Let me do this one first. Kalibrated. What do you believe will happen to Zelensky when his term is over at the end of the month? Nothing. I think he's just going to continue doing what he's going to continue doing. And I think everybody's going to be like, hey, that's not right. And then he's just going to keep going. He controls everything. He has the intelligence agency on board with him. The military has now been purged completely of anybody who would go against him. I mean, he killed the entire interior ministry in that helicopter crash like a year ago. Yeah, he's in control. That power group of Zelensky is in firm control of the situation in Ukraine right now. What's sad is once Gaza has been damaged enough, Israel might start shit in the West Bank and tensions will rise again. Yep. Nope. That's the goal, man. It's not just Gaza. It's greater Israel. They're gonna do southern Lebanon. They're gonna do the Golan Heights. They're gonna do everything. It's greater Israel, man. That's what Zionists do. War and Biden loving U.S. liberal childless women should step up and go serve. Yeah, no, that's not what they do. That's not what they do at all. It is funny that the liberals are the hawks now, when they used to be the doves. That is very funny. Pushing wars all over the place. But yeah, and this is the thing I always say is a lot of these protests, it boils down to a very basic fact. You have women, you have young women, very emotional young women, and this is not a knock on women in general, but you have very emotional young women who tend to not be the most educated on the world, and they get attached very heavily to certain ideas. And liberal women right now are attached to this idea that Hamas is saving Palestine and Palestine is a victim and they need to protect them, which is, I mean, a very fine position to take. If you, I mean, not the Hamas part, but the Palestinian part. If that's what you want to exert your energy doing, go for it. But usually it's not the most rational. It doesn't make the most sense. The protesting, if you go up and you talk to the protesters, they usually don't really even know what they're protesting against and what's going on. And with all of those young emotional women, you find a bunch of very, very beta cuck men who will completely change their political views to get laid. And that is most of what these protests are. It really comes down to human sexual biology, everybody. I know this because I have been to protests on college campuses, and I know guys that have done this exact same thing. This is a lot of what liberal men do. A lot of the LGBTQ supporter ally guys that are straight. That this is what they do, man. Calibrated. How many willing divisions do you think NATO really has to go against the Russians? Whew. Uh, that's so hard to say because I don't know. They have been having such bad recruitment issues, and they've been moving stuff around so much that I would say that it's less than you would probably think when you get when the rubber meets the road. Yeah. Scott is red pilled. Dude, I've been red pilled. I don't even know what red pilled means. Is that when you I know Matrix. That's when you see the real world. That's what that means? I take both at the same time. I take both pills at the same time. That's what I do. I candy flip. I want to see the real world and the fake world at the same time. Mousetrap win? I don't know what that means. What does this mean? I'm very curious as to what this means. That perp life. I love you guys. I love reading chat. It's so fun. It's so fun. This is great. Yin yang yang. There we go. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up there, everybody. Thank you. Have a wait. You haven't seen the WEBM? I don't know what that is. Blue Dream World. Yeah. I'm a red and blue pill kind of guy, both at the same time. All right. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Have a great day. I will see you back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode. Take care. Be safe. Love y'all.